Mike Murray.
This is
SNL.
SNL.
By the numbers.
Numbers.
Fact, Jack Black is back. Elton Madonna beef squashed. Miss Eggy don't play. There's the opening haiku for you. I'm your host, Mike Murray, and this is SNL By The Numbers, the home of SNL stats. Tonight, we are covering episode 984 of Saturday Night Live with host, four-timer Jack Black, musical guests Elton John and Brandi Carlile. This podcast is a presentation of LateNighter.com. All right, we're back. We have one more left, and then we have three after that, and that'll be season 50. So I had to bring my old pal, Darin. We've been going back a long time, man. Good to see you.
We go back a ways. How are you, sir? How's it going over there?
I'm doing great. So tell the listeners, how long have you been in the SNL podcast game now?
Oh my God. I don't even like to think about it. I know the podcast I'm on, SNL Nerds, we've been it for about, I think 5 years. It might be 6. It might be longer than that. And then, I partnered up. I found you guys over at Saturday Night Network back when you were at SNL Stats, and I've known you guys since then. So yeah, we go back a ways. We go since the war. We go back a long ways.
Yeah, it's good to have allies in these SNL streets. So love having Darin back. He's been on since my first season doing By The Numbers, and for the first time, welcome Nicola to the show. How are you? Thanks for being here at the Stat Desk this evening.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm doing so well. I'm very excited to be at the Stat Desk. By The Numbers was the first thing I ever listened to on SNN, so it's cool to be here.
All right, well, we got to hear your SNL origin story, but maybe start with your SNN origin story. How did you find the program? How did you find the SNL Stats?
So I'm new to the game. I only started listening last season, and after other podcasts I listened to ended, and so I found you guys last season, and it's been great. And I started watching. I used to just listen to it, and then I started watching the Everything You Need to Know videos, and ended up running into John and James at TIFF, and then did a couple of feedback shows, and John reached out, and here I am.
We're happy to have you as a listener and now a podcaster. I think I met you on a feedback show. It was my first feedback show.
Yeah, I was on that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good to see you again. So normally we jump in the time microwave. We go back in time right off the rip, top of the show. So there's 7 episodes to discuss, but I figured, you know what? I'm going to just cancel that and talk about 2 huge anniversaries this week. Darin, I'm going to go to you first. 25th anniversary of the Cowbell sketch. Just talk about it. Tell the people about the Cowbell sketch. Where were you? Who were you with?
Oh my Lord! 25 years since then. Well, I mean, it's the one sketch that I know of that was so good. It's got its own documentary on Peacock. When it came out 25 years ago, so that would be 2000. So I just got out of college. I don't remember seeing it live, but I must have, because I watch SNL religiously. And I remember it being just off the rip hilarious, but I had no idea it would have the staying power that it has. Even today, if you say I gotta have more Cowbell, people know what you're talking about, and that's from an SNL sketch that aired one time 25 years ago. So I don't know, it still boggles my mind that it stuck around that long. It's still wow. It still baffles me.
That should be the ceiling in the writer's room on an SNL week is we need to write a sketch that's going to create merch. That's what we're going to go for. Nicola, do you have any stories about the Cowbell sketch? Does it mean anything to you personally?
It was definitely kind of like my first window into SNL being such a popular sketch, a sketch that's older than me. So that's fun. But yeah, I came to it, and I also really enjoyed the documentary that was made about it. It was a really fun watch because I love the behind the scenes and the making of the show. So that was really fun to see.
Yeah, crazy to see Jimmy Fallon break. Didn't think you would see it, but 25 years ago this week, Jimmy Fallon did break. And speaking of Jimmy Fallon, happy 20th birthday to the 2005 film Fever Pitch. So are you guys Fever Pitch fans? Nicola, have you seen that film?
I have not.
Not seen Fever Pitch. Darren, over to you.
I did see it in the theaters. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. You know what? Oh, I did see it. I saw it in Boston. And if you've seen Fever Pitch, you know it's a very Boston-centric movie. And I've had friends of mine who are from Boston, who huge Red Sox fans, who like I still remember because like at the very last, I don't know, should I spoil it? I guess for Fever Pitch, but at the
historical data, it's okay.
Okay, yeah. At the end, the Boston Red Sox win, and that hasn't happened in decades. And then
86 years.
Yeah, and then because they were shooting the film, then Fallon and Drew Barrymore ran onto the field, and because they were shooting it for this big scene for the film, and like I remember some Red Sox fan genuinely being upset about that because like this is Red Sox Day, what these Hollywood elite are doing here, and blah blah. Like it was a problem for a lot of Boston Red Sox fans. I remember that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first World Series win in 86 years trumps Jimmy Fallon being on the field. But yeah, they had to rewrite the ending. It was a movie about crazy Red Sox fans. I, personally worked at Fenway Park for 10 seasons. Place means a lot to me. Just went to opening day on Friday. Beautiful day. It's been crappy weather since, but it's hallowed ground. And they had to change the ending because they actually won the damn thing October of 2004. So just want to talk about those two just, epic, iconic moments in SNL history, maybe one more than the other. But let's dive into this week, which was the return of Jack Black, and talk about the screen time this week. Darren, were you excited to see Jack Black back?
I was. I still am. I love Jack Black. I'm a huge fan. I talked about him with our good friend Bill over at the SNL Hall of Fame podcast.
Love you, Bill.
Yeah. Hey, Bill. I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan of Jack. This is how old I am. I've been a fan of Jack Black since the early Tenacious D days. Like I remember because I was a huge fan of the show Mr. Show, and like at the end of some episode they'd have that little short where it's like be a Tenacious D short. Like I was a fan of him since then, and I've loved everything he's done. He always just brings this strong, this big manic but playful type of energy to everything he does. He's like a perfect mix of Belushi and Farley, I think. Like, he's like, a bit rotund, but he's like light on his feet, and he's kind of, impish and have like a manic playfulness about him. So once I saw that he was coming back for the fourth time and he hasn't hosted in like 20 years, I was like, yes, we are in for a treat. Hot dog.
Absolutely. So he, wouldn't be surprised to see Jack get that jacket coming up. He should definitely come back. But this week in season 50, episode 16, of course, he's at the top of the charts. 9 appearances, 23 minutes, 39 seconds he logged on screen. James Austin Johnson, first in the cast, 9 minutes, 34 seconds, just a huge cold open. And then he was kind of everywhere else, including, wearing some Morgan Wallen merch in the bass sketch. Got my bass behind me right here, had to be prepared. So 9:34 for Jaj. Colin Jost, huge screen time because, we saw Ego in front of the desk. We don't get that too often, so lots of screen time for Jost and Shay. They got there. He's at 8:48. Andrew Dismukes with, one of the best weeks of the season for him. 7 appearances, 8 minutes, 9 seconds. So we love to see it at the top of the charts. Brandi Carlile, one of our MGs, 7 minutes, 53 seconds. That's 2 performances. And then the making love on the strings there, flying through the air. So Brandi Carlile is ahead of Elton John at 7:53. He's right behind her at 7:37. Would have liked to see Elton John fly around in some pajamas too, but he is getting up there. I think he's 78, so I don't blame him. Heidi Gardner, 5 appearances, big bounce back week after we didn't really see her last episode much. She's at 6:39, 5 appearances. Ego Nwodim, player of the week for me anyway. We're going to talk about her later. 6 minutes, 28 seconds. Sarah Sherman, 6 minutes, 8. Michael Che, 6 minutes, 1. Moving down, Marcelo Hernandez, who's just climbing up the power rankings. He's at 5:55. Kenan Thompson, 5:45. So everyone who listened last week, we did the over-under. Kenan's first episode of all time. Jack Black hosted it. He logged 5 minutes, 7 seconds. I asked our good friend John Schneider over-under for Kenan this week. He took the under, I believe. I took the over, I believe. And he hit the over. So Kenan was at 5:45 for his for another Jack Black episode. Bowen Yang, 537, 5 appearances. We have Elton John's producer and guitar player who looked like he really wanted some attention on that stage. Andrew Watt, 2 appearances, 450 screen time. Chloe Feynman, 445 and 4 appearances. Mikey Day, 443, 3 appearances. Chad Smith, or is it Will Ferrell, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, he's on the drums, 4 minutes 40. Jane Wickline, back on the update desk, 417 and 3 appearances. My old schoolmate, Maddie Rice, on guitar, back on the on home base there. Got a shout out from Jack Black in the monologue, so she got some screen time this week. 3 minutes 24 seconds. Josh Klinghoffer, also from the Chili Peppers, 239 screen time. Michael Longfellow, been saying it since he joined the cast that he needs to lead a pre-tape. We finally got it this year with the edible arrangements. We got another one from Michael Longfellow, so I think we found a lane for Mikey Longs. He got 147, but a memorable appearance as a goth kid on vacation. Mike Myers back as Elon Musk in the cold open, 147 as well. Emil Wakim, 1:07. Steve Higgins with 3 voiceovers, 35 seconds. Ashley Badia, 26 seconds coming in with the bass. Devin Walker, 25 seconds coming in with the bass. And stage manager Jenna Rositano with a 2-second handing Jack Black a mic appearance in the monologue. Nicola, over to you. Who do you want to talk about from this week?
I definitely want to talk about Andrew just because of such a big week that he had. And Michael also had some standout points for me. But yeah, Andrew just like really held it down if we want to talk about him.
For sure. What was your favorite moment from Dismukes this Saturday?
I really loved him in the game show sketch, The Dating Game. Even though it wasn't my favorite sketch of the night, I just really loved his performance in that and him calling out Jack Black that he knew Indiana fact.
Yeah, you just said a true fact about Indiana Jones. Yeah, it was a very Dismukes sketch. I love to see it. And the first sketch of the night. So we've been seeing Dismukes have an incredibly breakout season. And getting that first slot of the night is always, I think, the, if you read between the lines and read the stats, that they put people up front who can do those type of things, in game shows being the most common first sketch of the night. So Dismukes gets one there. He also appeared as Chester Cheetah's voice in the Flamin' Hot commercial. He was in One Uppers. He was, Sarah's boyfriend in that sketch. He was in the first play, the guy that, leaves the play to go find the king. He was in Base Lake, and then he was in Times Square Kiss as one of the many men who got to kiss Heidi Gardner at the end of the night. So big night for Andrew. Darren, what do you think about Dismukes this season? Because I haven't talked to you in a while, and this night in particular.
I'm a big fan of Dismukes. I love his kind of offbeat type of humor. I know people compare him to like Will Forte a lot, and I'd say that's about right. I whenever I see a Dismukes written sketch, I'm always like, all right, this is going to be good. Like I think he has like a pretty high success rate as far as sketches go. I kind of wish I saw a little bit more of him in this episode, but for the whole season, throughout the whole season, I think he's had his moments where he's like kind of shined a little bit here and there, and then just kind of take a step back and let kind of everybody else get their little moment in the sun. But I always like to see more Dismukes, and I always like to see him do his thing.
Yeah, we did get 8 minutes, 9 seconds of Dismukes, so we got a lot of him. I know a lot of it was behind the drum set in that Base Lake sketch, so it's a little bit of garbage time there, so fair point. But third highest screen time of the season for Dismukes. Highest was in the Chalamet episode. He had 11:51, 10 minutes 9 in Paul Mescal's episode where he had the brilliant lawyer sketch, all the Devo hats. Got to see Carl Tart there. And then 8 minutes 9 this week. Darren, who do you want to highlight from this cast or these guests this week?
I guess we could highlight maybe Heidi. I really think she's a strong performer, and she was in 2 sketches that I wasn't too wild about this episode. The bass sketch and the Times Square Kiss sketch. But I liked what she was doing in both those sketches, just like really kind of getting into it. And I also liked her part in the One Upper sketches. Her holding out her arm while the puppet eagle landed on it. I think the way she did it just kind of, made me chuckle. And I think also the fact that if you check her Instagram, she's always talking about how she's a huge fan of Jack Black. So like the fact that she got to perform the show with one of her heroes, I think she upped her game a little bit and really wanted to kind of bring it for this episode. And I thought she brought it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We got to see her in the promo, the Thursday promo on home base next to Jack Black, just looking, ecstatic to be there. And then I was watching the show live, and when Jack Black starts to leave home base to go up the bleachers, I just spotted Heidi next to a camera, and I was thinking, oh, Heidi's so excited to be here that she's wants to witness the monologue live. And then all of a sudden she's playing tambourine on stage with Jack. And I thought that was great. So I was happy that she got to be included there. And then, yeah, of course, having the eagle fly onto her arm. Maybe a hot take, Nicola, but I'm pro puppet on SNL, going back to World of Gorch to a Screeching Eagle. What about you? Are you pro puppet?
Oh, I'm definitely pro puppet. I love it when the pro puppets come out with My Best Friend's House, all the puppetry and that. It's such an amazing art form. So I'm definitely happy when the puppets come out.
Yeah, I think it's like Monkey Studios, it's Monkey Something Studios. They do the puppetry for the show, and they just do absolutely brilliant work. So it was really fun to see that come out at the end there. Yeah, she also played the mom in Goth Kid on Vacation, as well as just wearing some interesting prosthetics, playing some bass, making the amp spark, and then the lead in a 2-hand sketch with Jack Black at the end of the night there, the 10-1. So really fun. For other people here, I mean, we're gonna talk about Ego for sure, and then I called it last week. Jabs would have a huge week, maybe for some off the field reasons with all the tariffs. You got to call James to the makeup chair to address the nation. And then what did you guys think, Darin, about Elton John and Brandi Carlile? Let's do a quick music moment.
I loved it. I thought they were both pretty fantastic. I mean, Elton John's a legend, so whenever you get him on, he's gonna rock the house. I mean, of course he's a older man now, but I still think he has the energy it takes to sort of get the crowd rocking. And I mean, Brandi Carlile is just a fantastic performer. Like, I didn't know much about her until she performed in SNL, and then when I saw her, I was like, oh my, she's really good. Like, she's one of those people who have been around for a while, and she's been performing like forever, but it kind of took SNL to book her for her to land on my radar, and for me to see her and be like, oh wow, she's really good. And I felt the same way about like Boy Genius. Like, I've never really listened to any of their music until they got onto SNL, and I saw them on SNL. It's like, oh wow, they're fantastic, and now I love Boy Genius. So I mean, the two of them together, Brandi and Elton, I mean, it was as great as I thought it'd be. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I love seeing that pairing. It's been a while since you saw like the double MG. I saw Brandi Carlile open for Dave Matthews a few times, and it's just crazy to see her now because she has a whole different look, and she now is just kind of that one of those performers who's like on cusp of being a legend, like knows everyone respects and loves her, and is one of those performers who just always sounds great live. Like, you could make her sing anything. You could make her sing while she's flying through the air, and she's going to sound amazing. So, Nicola, I want to go to you. But first of all, got to address the that news I mentioned in the haiku that, 1 week we have a musical guest storming off in front of like camera A there. And the next week we have two music legends, Madonna, Elton John, burying the hatchet backstage. So a lot of emotions, a lot of things can happen at that hallowed ground of 8H. So that was interesting to see. That was like a 23-year Elton John Madonna feud that was squashed. So if you had a eagle eye, other than the eagle on Heidi's arm, if you could see Madonna in the crowd for the monologue, as well as Bill Burr, Kieran Culkin, Questlove. So there were some stars in the house to see Jack Black return. So Nicola, are you a fan of Elton or Brandi?
Definitely of Elton. I knew about Brandi less, but Elton, I listened to his music growing up a lot. So I was very excited to see him return. When I was talking to people about this, I kind of brought up Paul Simon and Sabrina Carpenter being paired together. I think with some older voices, it's nice to bring in some talent that's younger than them. But I loved Elton in the first performance. Like, you could really tell that he was having fun, and that's what made the performance so special to me. That yeah, he's done this before, but he's still having a great time doing it.
Yeah, so excited to see him back on stage there. So let's talk about our host. We have, Jack Black, big, pomp and circumstance to have somebody come back like this. That when someone hosts a few times in a row, in a couple of years, he's had plenty of projects since, but you think we might have the next 5-timer on our hands. And then we go almost 20 years without seeing him. So like last time he was there, it was like the School of Rock days. And now here we are promoting a Minecraft movie. So let's talk about his stats and then talk about his night. So 9 appearances, 23-28 screen time if you eliminate the intros to the musical guests. So here was his appearances: 4 minutes 18 in the monologue Indiana Jones sketch, 1:24. Flamin' Hot Cheetos, more than Cheetos, honestly. 1:08 screen time. 1:46 with just some absolutely electric facial expressions to camera. That was what won me over right away. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to see him in sketches. I knew he would have a good monologue. The first play, 2 minutes 8 seconds, and then Goth Kid on Vacation. Jack Black Parade coming in to cut out the reggae and bring in some My Chemical Romance. He had 34 seconds there. The Making Love sketch with Sarah, Bowen, and Brandi, 4 minutes 19. So we saw a lot of him there on camera the whole sketch. Base Lake, 4:37, and then Times Square Kiss, 3:14. Nicola, what was your favorite Jack Black moment of the night?
My favorite moment of the night, I really loved his monologue to begin with. Just that energy, and coming into the episode, I was a bit worried because we haven't seen him in so long, and I've mainly heard him in animated roles. I'm like, does he still have that physicality? And he definitely does. So I was really happy to see that, and that really started off my night great. I also, I might be going off of the path here, but I really loved both the bass sketch and the Times Square Kiss sketch. I really loved his voice, his old-timey voice in the Times Square Kiss sketch, and his performance there. And maybe not his performance. I really loved Heidi in the Bass Lake sketch, but yeah, the monologue is what really I came away thinking about after the night.
Yeah, Jack Black's gonna sing a lot, and sing he did in this episode, kicking it off with some Aerosmith, singing some Tom Petty, some My Chemical Romance. He's all over the place. So Darren, what about you? What was your favorite moment from him?
I guess I have two. The Flaming Hot commercial I like because it's like a type that he can play really well, like the loud, screamy type, and over the top type, and he's really good at that. He can do it. But I'd also have to give him props for the first play, I'd say, because that was a sketch that it's not my favorite sketch, but I feel like it's a sketch that if somebody else did it, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. Like, he brought a little bit more to the sketch to sort of put it over a little bit for me. It's like one of those sketches where it's like a very simple premise and there's not much escalation, so it all kind of hinges on the actor's performances to sort of put it over. And I think he's so likable and he brought the energy up enough to sort of put it over. Like him saying things to JJ like he's no king, he's an olive oil merchant, like things like that, like made me chuckle a bit more than if I feel like if this sketch was in other people's hands, it probably wouldn't have maybe carried over as much. So I'll give him props for that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Going into it, like I said, you're going to get music. Oh, by the way, John in the chat described him in that sketch as childish zealousness. So that's a pretty good way to put it. Scott Sandler in the chat reminds us, about how great his last episode was, or, one of his hosting efforts, which had Christmas Time for the Jews and Lazy Sunday. So 2 all-time pre-tapes that he wasn't in that are both musical. So interesting there that maybe he's his footprint on SNL is now even more musical after this episode. So let's go to the breakdown. He had 7.3% of his evening was in pre-tape and 2 small appearances. Live sketch 74.4%. So that's for this season one on the high end for sure. We knew Jack Black would have the energy on stage, live audience, and he definitely did in the stats. 17 minutes, 28 seconds was in live sketch. So 3/4 of his night. And then his monologue 418, that was 18.3% of the night. So quick yes or no from Nicola and Darin. Will Jack Black get a 5-timers jacket? Nicola?
I think so. Yes.
Darin, what about you?
Yeah, I can't see him not. Like, he's already kind of proven that, even though he's an old guy, he could still, party with the best of them. Like the crowds love him, the cast love working with him. There was like a big energy throughout the whole show that was like, mostly due to him, just bringing the vibes up and up. And like, I'm sure that the cast would love to work with him again and have him back on. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before he gets that 5-timers jacket for sure.
Clearly has not lost his fastball at all. As aging 19 years coming back, you thought it would have been, 19 days. So let's talk about somebody that, if you're a long time SNL By The Numbers listener, back in season 46, that I kept just banging the drum of, I want more Ego, just a huge Ego Nwodim fan. And at that point, that was her 3rd season. So we started podcasting back then in season 46, and I just wanted more Ego screen time. So this week I thought would be a good time to do the segment. I've only done it once this year with Sarah Sherman as she approached her big milestone. So we had just a rare Ego as herself at Update, being the, and her alter ego of Miss Eggy, kind of just showing us what would the White House Correspondents' Dinner look like if Miss Eggy was the master of ceremonies. So I just, did a complete stat dump here. So these are the career stats of Ego Nwodim going through 7 seasons. Just so quick bio. She's from Baltimore. She got a biology degree at USC and then became a cast member at UCB. Wonder how many USC, UCB alum are out there. So Upright Citizen Brigade, she got into comedy, New Faces at 2016, Just for Laughs, and then became a featured player season 44. So that's 2018, featured player a couple years, and then up to, the main cast in that season 46 that I mentioned right there. And now she's, still here, going strong. So I'm going to go through the progression here from season to season, screen time average, so you can kind of just tell the ladder that Ego has, the rungs that have gone up or down. So her first season, average per episode screen time, 1:53. So not great, but it's a featured player first year. She did come in alone, so that's rare. We saw Chloe Trost coming in as like a solo rookie. Season 45, 3 minutes, 1 second. That was her per episode average. Season 46 goes up a whole minute to 4:01. Season 47, more the same, 4 minutes, 10 per episode. And then season 48, she peaked for screen time per episode, 5:28. A little bit down last year, 4:29 in season 49. And as of this taping of this podcast, 5 minutes, 16 seconds in season 50. So I'll go over her career stats in a minute. But Nicola, I say Ego Nwodim, what do what comes to mind if you were describing her style, and are you a fan?
Yes, I'm definitely a fan of Ego. First thing that comes to mind is energy, and not just because I feel like when people think about energy, they think about like maybe yelling, but like just the energy that she can bring to her facial expressions is amazing. The common quote of your favorite SNL cast is the one that you watched in high school. She started when I was in high school, so I have like this very fond memory of her getting to grow my love for the show, and her being along for that ride has been really nice. And yeah, she's definitely up there for me.
And what would you think maybe differentiates her from other like female cast member greats? Like, I love Ego so much, but is there something about what she brings to SNL that's not the same as like a 80 Kate Cecily or other recent like women titans of SNL?
Well, I think definitely being a Black woman, she brings a different voice to comedy that the other cast members can't, and it brings a new audience into the show. And I think that makes her really special and really important as a cast member.
Yeah, well said, Darren. Over to you. Are you an Ego Nation? Because I just I gotta stop saying how much I love Ego Odom before it gets weird. But yeah, just like looking at her career stats, I'll give you a moment to collect your thoughts. But 7 seasons, 134 episodes, total screen time 8 hours, 53 minutes, 44 seconds. That's how much we've seen Ego Odom on our screens. So it's coming up to 9 hours pretty soon. So could hit that in the John Hamm episode, or if not, then when we come back from our break. 433 appearances. That's about, it's a minute 14 per appearance. That includes voiceovers, includes everything, update, the long ones, the short ones. So overall, I did give you the averages per season, but in career, average per episode is 359. So about 4 minutes a night. Recurring characters, actually 17. Surprisingly, not known for characters, but I did some digging into that stat. And it's funny because a lot of her recurring characters are kind of like recurring premises. So if you're a longtime SNL Stats, SNN listener, then we kind of talked about that a lot in the early days, that we're seeing more recurring premises and not characters. So I was like, okay, well, what characters has she done 3 times, not just twice? Like the girl at the sleepover or this news anchor or, some unnamed character. So if you include SNL 50, that would be the Domingo Bridesmaid. So that's all this season. We had the baking competition judge. So all those baking shows that we've seen that she's on the judge panel. And then, so the only really named ones would be Levanka Trump and Them Trumps. We saw Keenan being, Black Trump, and Leslie and Chris Redd. And then, of course, Lisa from Temecula. So those are 4 characters that you could say, Ego has done 3 times if you include SNL 50. So, Darren, what do you have to say about our friend Ego Odom?
Yeah, huge Ego fan, huge egghead. I guess I don't know if they call her fans, but we should start calling them that. I just love her. Yeah, trademark. I just love the energy she just brings to all of her sketches. I love the fact that, like sometimes when things go wrong, she's able to roll with it and work with it, like she did on the Jack Black episode, or the very first Lisa from Temecula episode. And she has like a really nice, playful spirit about her, and of course, the fact that she's the African American woman, and she's able to sort of portray characters and say and do things that maybe some other cast members can't. So like she brings like this whole new other flavor and dynamic to the show, that maybe other people maybe can't do, or just unable to do. So she really, like, I'm shocked that she's been around for like 7 seasons. That's such a long time. It feels like only yesterday, like she was on the show, and I don't know. Part of me still feels like she's still a little maybe underrated in the mainstream circles, because like I know she does like a few TV shows here and there, other TV shows besides SNL, and like the occasional Pizza Hut commercial. But like I don't know, like I still want like more people to know about her. Like the more, I want her to be more mainstream, I guess. But like she's fantastic. I have nothing but glowing praise for Ego.
Do you have a favorite Ego moment in these 7 years?
Here's a couple. I mean, the Dionne Warwick show, I think, was one of my favorites. Like when she first did that. Just because it was like a character that I never thought about having her own talk show, and like she kind of took that. She kind of, I mean, that was back when the Dionne Warwick tweets were trending, and so she just took that and made it into a whole sketch about it. She knocked it out the park. I think that's the moment where more people start to kind of realize what she can do, and focus on her. So I would say that. And when she played Cat Williams in the Club Shay sketch, I thought she was fantastic in that too. Like because like if you saw the Club Shay, the actual show where he was interviewing Cat Williams, like Ego did a pretty good impression of him, and like I didn't think she had it in her to do that. So like those would be my top 2, I'd say.
Yeah, that was really underrated, that Cat Williams. Thinking about like Jay Farrow had a great cat, and then Ego just out of nowhere from the top rope just has like a pitch perfect Cat Williams. Was so great. Also underrated Devin Walker being Shannon Sharp. I thought he was great in that too. So if I fast forward to like this season's finale, like where I assume that everyone will still be in the cast at that point on May 17th. looking at the like tenure, like Ego will be at 6.63 years in the cast, going from her first episode. That puts her in the top 10 for like women of SNL. Because as John points out in the cast, time flies with SNL tenures these days. So that's like, puts her right ahead Dratch and Wig, and it puts her behind like, Vanessa will be the next woman of the cast, and then Maya, Heidi, going up to, the top of the list would be 80, Kate, and Cecily, of course. So Nwodim in SNL history is one of the most like prolific female cast members. So Nicola, is it too early, or we have a show to do today, but is she a top 10 female cast member of SNL?
Yeah, it is hard for me to gauge that without like, I don't know, looking at her career from all over thing. I think she's definitely underrated. And for me, I think she could be in my top 10. Some of my favorite moments being Thirsty Cops. And I also love Lisa from Temecula. And when she did Women with Too Much Stuff in Her Purse.
Yep, that was a great one too.
Great bit.
Yeah, it's hard to say, you're going up against Tina, Amy, Gilda, Wig, and that's just, going from before this era with the Kate 80 Cecily's and, Jan Hooks. And, it's just, there's been a lot of great ones, but I just thought that was interesting that you look at her career stats and then think about how long she's been on the show, like definitely has made an impact. Darren, you mentioned the Dionne Warwick show. If I look at her longest appearances, 3 out of the 4 of them were those 3 appearances, the Dionne Warwick talk show. And if I compare the average per episode to other women that have, come in or, been the cast with Ego, it's like Chloe Fineman, 3 minutes, 10 seconds per episode. Punky Johnson, 1:43 per episode. And Heidi Gardner, who was a rookie the year before Ego, 4 minutes, 21 seconds per episode. So a reminder, Ego is at 3:59 per episode. So it's definitely gotten her due more as of late. Last 3 seasons have been around 4.5 to 5.5 minute span. So I like to see that continue. And I really hope that in season 51, we see more of her. Quickly, we'll do the breakdown. 42 cold opens for 42 minutes, 9 seconds. So about a minute per cold open right there. 9 monologues. We've seen Ego in 9:34 screen time there. Again, about a minute each. 256 live sketches. So this is a big thing for Dismukes, Mikey, Keenan, and Ego, that we see them. They're just great on stage. We see them have the energy and be able to kind of punch up, make anything funnier. So that's 6 hours, 24 minutes, and 25 seconds of live sketch Ego time. 112 pre-tapes, just 5 seconds under an hour. So if we see Ego in a pre-tape this week, you'd be like, oh, that's an hour pre-tape for Ego. Tell your friends at home. They'll probably love that one. 13 weekend update spots. 37, 36, and we saw her for the first time as a musical performance intro for Lady Gaga this season. 5 seconds right there. So that is the breakdown from Ego. And recurring impressions were Dionne Warwick, 3 of those, Jada Pinkett Smith, 2 of those, and Ilhan Omar, 2 of those. So those are the kind of like, for someone not known for recurring characters, had 4 characters that have been 3 or more, and 3 impressions that have been, more than once, because I was looking through her impressions and they're almost all one-offs. So, either like political or, Fox News, that type of stuff. So we did see another amazing update piece. I thought Ego was my highlight of the night, but I want to talk about Mark from How's Neck. Shout out for this idea. Was the idea of these like 2-handers, these like 2 characters at once, that I feel like we don't see a lot. So I'm referring to Jane and Marcelo coming back as Grant and Alyssa, the couple you can't believe is together. So I did some research, going back to 25 seasons, so back to like the 99 2000 season till today, to look at like how often have we seen that, because we're all familiar with the SNL landscape of having like one wacky zany character and everyone reacts in that world to them. Or there's a concept where you have like, the game show host and you have everybody kind of being an impression or wacky. And then there's like, the trope of, we have an established character, let's bring in the host to kind of like be with them. And now they can play off the host. But what about cast members who are just like a pair who play two characters. So, Darren, can you think in the last, even SNL history, I won't limit you, of a great like two-person sketch?
Like a weekend update type of death segment type of thing?
It could be anything like, the biggest example probably like Wayne and Garth. Like there's other people in the sketch, but the characters are two original characters, not impressions, that they drive the sketch and not just having one person and then everyone reacts to them. I can come back to you. I can come back to you too, but I'll give you some more examples that are recent, like speaking of Ego, like and Bowen, they had their like Chartreuse and Umberto, like the airport sketch. We had Judge Mukes doing the Soul Booth guys, and the Trend Forecasters, which is my favorite of mine, Bowen and 80 at Update. So anything like that in SNL history that you can think of, Darren?
The most recent one I can think of, I really got a kick out of 80 and Kate when they were together and doing things. Of course, there were back when they did the weekend update segment, and they were like those two farmers with like the meat farm, and they had like the displaying all that rotten meat, or the sketches when they were two teenage boys, and like I think Kate was making moves on a girl, and he was calling her his nerdy best friend who was 80, and they were like talking back and forth to each other. I really dug those. But as far as we can update death segments with a two-hander, I really liked when Heidi and Mikey were Brie Bacardi and Nico Slopkin. I wish they'd bring that back. I thought they worked really well together.
Wow, you nailed those names, Darren.
That's how much I like it.
Yeah, that did recur. It happened the second time, so it's on my list. Nicola, can you think of any like in your history watching the show? Because it's just a lot more rare than I would have thought that we'd see, especially now, cast being so big and so diverse that, hey, like I got a character, like why don't you do a character with me, and like we'll get it on Update, or we'll do a sketch around it. Because I was just thinking about Wayne and Garth, like Mike Myers came in that season and it was his 4th episode, and Dana was the star. It was his 46th episode. And they come in, they do a 10-1 as, for Wayne's World. And it became, maybe the most iconic SNL characters ever. And it's a two-hander. So, like, why don't we do that more? So, Nicola, do you have any in mind?
Yeah, in terms of why don't they do it more, I just think, like, ideas flowing, maybe the single character ideas come quicker than duos. But I was thinking of Hader and Armisen, that, like, couple. Are they from Maine?
Yeah, that was it Tony Donato and Zacconi? Was that one?
Maybe. It sounds familiar, yeah. But that came to mind. Also, I love Judge Mukes and would love to see them again before they both leave. And 80 and Bowen again for the trend reporters or forecasters. I really enjoyed their dynamic together.
Other ones I thought of, we saw Mikey and Leslie do Greg and Shelley Duncan, the couple, and Mikey's like beat up and because they're trying weird things sexually, and the couple, and he's just like in a neck brace with bruises on him. We had, speaking of Kate and 80, Wileen and Vanetta Starkey, selling the meat. Look at that sheen, Colin. We had John Bovey, of course. There's some good Forte and Sudeikis and Armisen. Like there's a lot of those. Garth and Kat 10 times, and in SNL 40. Greg Stink and Pete Twinkle, saw that in the chat. Of course, Bronx Beat, saw that in the chat. Betty and Jody. The two a-holes, Sudeikis and Wig, was a great one. And then Roger and Virginia Clarvin, of course, The Lovers. So one of the most famous sketches, I think, in my lifetime is that hot tub sketch.
Yeah, actually, there's one. I'm surprised they haven't brought back yet. I really liked. It's when J.J. and Devin were those two British rappers, Millie Pound and Shirty. I really like that. I'm surprised they haven't brought that back yet.
They definitely should bring that back. I was actually preparing to put that on my list, and I'm going, that hasn't recurred yet. That's still a one-off for a two-hander right there. And then I even threw in the Boston Teens. So, Pat Sullivan and Denise McDonough. So, Fallon and Dratch. We saw that 14 times. So, if you're, keeping score, 14 Boston Teens. We had 9 of the Bronx Beats, 10 Garth and Cats, and 8 of the two a-holes. So, those are kind of in the last 25 years of the show. those would be the top of the list. And then we have a bunch of twos. Nicola, you mentioned Thirsty Cops earlier. We saw that twice. So that, I kind of count. They're kind of playing the same character, but it would, fit the criteria for sure. So, and then I guess Forte. He's Forte and Armisen. They come up a lot because I mentioned Greg Stink and Pete Twinkle, ESPN classic. But then, that like CD commercial, Clancy T, Bachelorette, and Jackie Snad. It's Kristen Wiig and Forte. He's got the great long hair with the bald wig that he brought back when Forte hosted. And then the best friends from growing up. That's like Nessa Bayer and Fred Armisen. They did that at SNL 50 with the whispering to Seth. So that's another one. But yeah, so Darin, do you think that am I onto something at all that they should maybe lean into this more?
Yeah, like I kind of wish they would. I mean, maybe they're just having a hard time figuring out which pairings go best or whatnot. Because I do notice that they do that thing a lot where you see where they have those sketches where it's like a sort of a rotating merry-go-round of all the cast members, so everybody gets a little bit of screen time, on the the Mikey Madison episode with the jury duty one, where everybody got a little something. So maybe that's a way to get everybody in. But I do think they should look more into having two cast members that have some good chemistry and just build a sketch around them, just like a little dynamic duo. I don't know why they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, Nicola, do you agree with this? Do you think that this is something that they might have been overlooking that they could do? Because, I did list a bunch of them, but I'm going back for half the show. We're talking about just this modern cast that seeing Grant and Alyssa, the Jane and Marcelo piece, is going back the past few years. It's really just them, that airport sketch with Bowen with Ego, and then the Soul Booth guys and the trend forecasters. That's since we've been podcasting, those ones have debuted and come back. So should they do more of this, you think, or are we thinking too hard on this?
I definitely think it would be interesting to see more of this, and just to get some more examples of people interacting in character. I think it would be a lot of fun, and it's a good way because of the size of the cast to give everybody some more screen time.
And then my final question here, is there, in the current cast, whether we've seen them before or never have seen them, do you have an idea of a cast pairing that you would pitch? Let's put this person and this person, go into a room, come back with a character duo. What would you pitch?
Well, again, I love Judge Meeks. One just came to mind because we're talking about Jane. I'm and in the idea of we can update people talking about future anchors, but I just, in my head, I'm trying to wrap around Longfellow and Wickline together and what would happen there, and if it would just be complete silence and awkwardness, or if we have something there. But I would like to see how that would work out.
Yeah, I remember saying that earlier this year. They're why don't they play siblings in a sketch? They're both tall and they kind of have a similar look and vibe. I just think that would almost write itself. Maybe it could bomb, but I think it just on paper it works. Darin, what do you think about Jane and Longfellow? Would that be a good pairing?
I mean, I've never even thought about that, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of like it. I mean, some people say you want people who are total opposites, just so they can play off each other a little bit more. You don't want two people who are too similar because they're bringing the same type of skill set and thing and energy to a sketch. So it's good to have one person who's like this and one person who's polar opposite. But yeah, seeing Wickline and Longfellow together, that might be something. I do wish I'd see more Longfellow. I like him quite a bit too.
And then what would be your pitch, Darin? Who would you say the two of you should write something together?
I would say Heidi and Padilla. I think even though I said the two of them sort of have the same little bit of energy, they not quite, but the fact that they're both from the Groundlings, and so I know the two of them have a good. I feel like the two of them would play well together and are able to bounce off each other and know how they both can kind of dig from their improv training, and I feel like the two of them together have the type of energy that could really make something happen. So yeah, I would say Ashley and Heidi for sure.
I think that's a great take. we spend enough time thinking about this person is the next that person, but when we look back in SNL history and see like who overlapped, let's just say that this is the last year for a lot of the vets. That would include Heidi. We might look back and say, oh, I wish she did something with Ashley, who kind of like took that mantle. And that's maybe why I have such an affinity for the trend forecasters, is you kind of have 80 with like a foot out the door and Bowen coming up as the next big star. And they're just having an absolute blast doing those characters. And, with Michael Che. And I look back on that and say, oh, that's like kind of a last new thing from 80, because, she kind of at the end of her SNL career. So maybe in a good way, relying on what we love about 80 and not doing new, where someone like Bowen was kind of breaking out and doing more of his own stuff. Maybe we'll see Chen Biao this week, with all the China tariffs and stuff, trade daddy should come back. But yeah, so Ashley and Heidi, I think that'd be a great one. I think Longfellow and Wickline would be a great one. Wouldn't mind seeing Emil and Marcelo, just to go back to that kind of rookie and main cast. But yeah, great ideas, guys. Love this. All right, are we ready for 5 questions? Nicola, have you done your homework?
I have.
All right, Darren, what about you?
I have the notes right here. My notebook, I wrote them down. I'm good to go. Let's do this. I did my homework. For
the folks at home, they're both brandishing paper notebooks on the screen, so that these people are legit. They don't just roll in. They went to sound check. Okay, Darren, question 1 for you, because I know you're a fan. Outside of School of Rock and Tenacious D, I feel like I had to say that because we don't want the same answers. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite all-time Jack Black performance?
Oh boy, I know. It's kind of a tie for me. Like, I know School of Rock is the one that really kind of blew him up to the next level. But because I'm a Gen Xer, I got to go with my heart and say High Fidelity. Like, it's one of my favorite movies. I really liked it. Like, I think that was the movie where like it got him on the radar of a lot of people who like maybe didn't know him before. So yeah, I'll say High Fidelity, and I'll also give a little tip of the hat to The Holiday, just because it's like a film that and it was interesting. Look, I mean, it's not my favorite film, but I liked he was trying something different. It's like a rom-com with him and Kate Winslet, and like you wouldn't think of him to be in a movie like that, but he's actually is pretty good in it. He's able to like dial it down, his energy a little bit, and be like charming and a little bit more quieter. So like, I mean, I'll give him respect. A tip of the hat for like trying to do something different and not just being the loud, boisterous dude the whole time.
Yeah, I think you just jacked Nicola's answer right there by her reaction. But yeah, thanks for mentioning High Fidelity, because people forget that Jack Black won Favorite Supporting Actor at the Blockbuster Entertainment Awards. So I'm glad it was mentioned on this show. Nicola, over to you. Favorite Jack Black performance?
So it isn't technically The Holiday, but that was an honorable mention because, like, similar to When Harry Met Sally, I just love the casting of these comedic actors that look like normal people in rom-coms. That has it warms my heart. But in terms of what I grew up seeing him in, Gulliver's Travel was a really weird like fever dream. Definitely not one of my top picks. I loved the Muppet movie. I owned the soundtrack for the Muppet movie, and he was playing himself in that and gave the great line of Kermit saying that we can't kidnap Jack Black. But I went over to my DVD cabinet, and I think one, because I never actually watched Kung Fu Panda, but I was a huge fan of Shark Tale, and I think he plays like a vegetarian shark so well, and it's very like kind of an understated like sweet role, and I just really love Shark Tale, so that's my pick.
Nicola is holding up the Shark Tale DVD on the screen. Love to see it. I wonder what the runtime on that is. Check the back of the box. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I'm gonna go to.
Hour
we got
30.
a 90-minute runtime, short ass movie. Okay, I'm gonna say a small one is. It's a movie that everyone got really obsessed with and quoted all the time, but his scene in Anchorman is absolutely incredible. So I say this about Will Ferrell a lot, that we see when Will Ferrell in small roles, whether it be Wedding Crashers or like Austin Powers, a small dose of Will Ferrell can just like absolutely destroy in a scene. Well, Jack Black punting Baxter with a bridge is maybe my favorite moment of that movie, and of course Will Ferrell's reaction to it. All right, question 2. Mentioned Elton John at 78. We also saw Stevie Nicks at 76, booked this year on season 50. If we could get one more like legendary artist in these last 3 episodes of season 50, of course after Lizzo this week, Nicola, who would you want it to be?
Okay, so my first answer was Carole King because I love her, but I don't think that's a realistic answer. So in talking about like Stevie Nicks coming on and Elton John with my mom, we brought up Billy Joel, and I think it would be his 5th time being a musical guest, and he's still like so incredibly popular. His songs are always trending on TikTok. I think he would be a great way like to get a whole bunch of different generations, and he's also touring. He's doing a show with Stevie Nicks. I think it's a good fit for like that age range of musical guests.
Perfect. That was my answer. It would be his 5th time, and I thought that he would be a perfect finale because we are celebrating SNL, which means we're also celebrating New York. And just who's more New York than Billy Joel? Sold out the Garden every month, every year. So, New York State of Mind. He has all those songs. So, yeah, I guess I'll give my answer. It was Billy Joel, and then Stevie Wonder was that was my 2, and I saw that in the chat. Also, someone agreed with you on Carole King in the chat too. Ken said that as well. Darren, what about you? Legendary artist. If we can get one more. We also saw Simon and McCartney at SNL 50, so I'll count them. Lil Wayne, so we saw some that are non-canonical, but we're not going to see McCartney or Paul Simon now, so just put that out of the way. So Darren, what do you think?
I mean, you just mentioned that she was in the audience of the Jack Black episode. I mean, if we got Madonna at that, I think that would be pretty fantastic. She buried the hatchet with Elton John, and I don't know if she has any new music coming out anytime soon, but I think that would be, having her on would be pretty fantastic. Part of me thinks, Aerosmith would be cool because they have such a history with the show, but I don't think they're touring anymore. And
they just retired. They canceled their last tour.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like legendary acts. I don't know if this would be counted as legendary, but like I know they're getting back together after a long hiatus and doing a reunion tour, and SNL already kind of made fun of them a little on a Weekend Update. I mean, if Oasis could come back on the show and do a set, that would be a pretty insane way to close the season for sure, I think.
Yeah, we could get Madonna and Elton to make up, and we could get Oasis to break up in the same season. That would be great. All right, question 3. I want you to order these types of monologues, not your run-of-the-mill monologue, from least favorite to most favorite. These are some of the classic, kind of out of the box, but we see them a lot monologues. The song-a-log, the audience Q&A, the stand-up monologue, and the backstage monologue. Darren, I'll go back to you for this one. Question 3.
Okay, so I'll start from the bottom to the top because I like to put on a show. So I put number 4, audience Q&A. Like I find they're always kind of fall flat for me, and they never really quite take off like they should. Number 3, I put song-a-log, just because they can be okay sometimes, but for the most part, they just kind of they usually kind of feel like they're just kind of eating up time. Number 2, stand-up. Depending on the comedian, it could be fantastic or it could be so-so. Number 1, backstage, because I'm a sucker for going backstage and seeing all the SNL history and seeing those showgirls and Abraham Lincoln and the llamas. Like once I see those, I'm like, oh baby, we're in business now.
Yeah, I get locked in if I see a llama on the screen. Nicola, do you agree with Darren?
On some points, yeah. At the bottom, I had Q&A, but then just, I don't know, maybe it's because of this season, but I had stand-up as number 3, just because, like, I give them points for because it must be so hard to go up there, even though they're professional stand-ups. But when it's bad for me, and it's really hard to watch. And last Shameless stand-up, I muted his episode because I just couldn't watch it. But Then I have backstage, because again, I love behind the scenes. And at the top, I have Sonologue. And that could be because I just rewatched Martin Short's Sonologue from the first time he hosted, and also Ray Liotta, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought it was really funny to see him singing for his monologue.
Good pull right there from Ray Liotta. I mean, maybe the best monologue of all time, people say, is the, knocking the phone in tonight, Steve Martin. When Mike Myers came back, he did a song-a-log. And I think he was, pulled up in the rafters too in that one. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think we saw a bunch of for a bit, at least since we've been podcasting past 5 seasons. And I think the audience Q&A has kind of died out. I'm trying to think of the last one I remember. It was maybe Keegan Michael Key. So I like those because I like to see who's going to be the question askers. I get equally as excited for a celebrity cameo as I do a writer. So I think maybe it was Jacob Elordi that I think Rosebud Baker was one of the question askers. So that's fun. Tina Fey, first time we saw her, was doing that. And just, a lot of the writers over the years like Dave Attell or T-Shawn Shannon, Paul Appel, seeing them is cool in hindsight. But yeah, for the best, it's got to be the backstage, right? Just iconic. All right, question 4. Speaking of Mike Myers, Nicola, if we end up getting Mike Myers for the rest of this season, kind of like we got Dana for the first, half of the season, which of his sketches or characters do you want to see make a comeback?
I mean, I think we gotta combine the both and get what we didn't get at the 50th and get a Wayne's World. I think that's what everybody wants and everybody's kind of hoping for to see. Yeah,
gotta be Wayne's World. Do you have a second choice? Because that should be your first choice, right? That would be an SNL 50 moment. We saw it at SNL 40 in the special, and when Dana's hosted before.
Yeah, I think that's just the top for me because we already got him with the Bronx Beat Coffee Talk at the 50th, so I'm good on that. But yeah, that's definitely the top.
Darin, is Wayne's World your number 1? And if so, what's your number 2?
It's not my number 1. I mean, as much as I love Wayne's World, I feel like it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't, I think younger audience today don't really jive with it as much as we did back in the day, unfortunately. So I think I'd love to see Sprockets again with his Dieter cat, because he hasn't done that in forever. I feel like that's something Sarah Sherman and Bowen could really make a meal out of. Yeah,
so you think the kids will love Sprockets?
Yes, the kids love German surrealism and really men in black tights. Yes, that's what the kids like. I don't know. It's just because I haven't seen him do that in a while, and I feel like he could still pull that off and make it interesting and weird in ways only he can. So I would say that, and also let's follow up maybe Lothar of the Hill People. I don't know. Because I don't know. I've always liked that sketch, but now I think about it, maybe I like the theme song more than I like the actual sketch, because the theme song slaps. But I think Lothar the Hill People would be good. And also, I looked it up. Maybe that character he played, Kenneth Rhys Evans from Theater Stories, with his big British accent. I feel like they could maybe do something with that as well. So that would be my 3.
Lothar the Hill People, we only saw that, we saw it 4 times, but in a 10-month span. It's a very season 14 to 15 thing, and just never saw it ever again. And I mean, at least the kids, the kids online are clamoring for Stuart Rankin to come back. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. All right, question 5. Darin, back to you. Do you have a favorite Jon Hamm SNL moment? Because we're going to see him back next week. And, this is a crazy coincidence. You have 2 4-timers back to back. This is an SNL white whale to see this, because, you can't get a 5-timer jacket without your 4th time. And your 4th time's going to be good, usually, to come back for a 5th. So we have Jon Hamm doing just that Saturday, 11:30 Eastern, only on NBC. So what do you want? What was your favorite Jon Hamm moment?
I mean, so many. He's one of those hosts who it really surprised me at how good he was, like right out the bat. Just because, like, we all were introduced to him through Mad Men, where it's like a very serious, dry, dramatic role, and he's very good in that as well. But then to see him just effortlessly just knock it out the park doing comedy just really blew my mind. I have a lot of moments, but I guess the one that there's two that I can't decide which one I like more, because they're both fantastic. They're both two-handers. Ham and Bubbly, a sketch with just him and Michael Bublé. Like, just that alone, I've never seen a sketch where it's just the host and the musical guest. And like, even though there are some cast members in that sketch, I think Bill Hader's in there, but they don't have any lines. So to see a sketch that's anchored down well by the two hosts, that just blew my mind. And I mean, my God, the Trick or Treat sketch with Jeff Montgomery, that's an all-timer. Like wow. I mean, it's beautiful. So those are my two off. I mean, I have a lot more, but like off the rip, those are my top two for sure.
Before I take any of her answers, I'm going to go to Nicola. What do you think?
So when I first joined the SNN crew, I was very nervous to say that this is one of my favorites, but I love 1920s Party so much, and he doesn't have a big role in it, but maybe if we didn't have him host, we wouldn't have gotten that because of like the Mad Men, like old-timey going back in time feel. But my mom and I, and like sometimes I just find myself muttering under my breath, oh, don't make me sing, so I just think it's so silly, and it's one that stuck out in my mind as like, it might have not made me laugh the hardest, but it sticks in my mind, and it's my most quoted sketch.
This could be a hot cameo week, though. So I wouldn't be, and this is what's fun about like Jack Black or John Hamm coming back, is they haven't really worked a lot with this new cast. So you hope you get some new concepts and not just retreads of that era. If anything, you want to see the new cast kind of homage their old stuff. If we got like a Sergio, that was the John Hamm character with, playing the saxophone that he did twice. But John Hamm's made 10 cameos, in SNL history, if you include the specials. So he's kind of been around. We saw him at the 50th, of course, and we saw him in the Kristen Wiig episode. He had a 5-timer jacket without doing it. So did Fred and Will and Gosling and Matt Damon. So he's kind of been around. So it's great to see him get a shot at having either the opportunity to recur some things or just do some new fun stuff with the new cast. So I'm looking forward to it. And anyone in the chat, then please weigh in on the best John Hamm moments. And somebody who's really just can do it all. So he could be like a Steve Alec kind of host. If it weren't for this long break, he could be at like 10 hostings right now. But he's only at 4. So we shall see. And as every week on SNL By The Numbers, we wrap up the program with the updated power rankings. If you've been following, this has been very up and down. But number 1 has been Bowen Yang every week except week 14, which was Sarah jumped him right there in that week. Other than that, it's been, or that was week 12, my bad. So Bowen Yang at number 1, who's at an 87.5 power ranking. This is the stat that combines screen time, appearances, every single thing into one number, impact on that episode. Speaking of that, Jack Black was like 9th out of the hosts. It was surprising, but wasn't the longest monologue, so it makes sense. Andrew Dismukes is our new silver medalist of the season as it stands right now, 83.3. He's now ahead of Sarah because Andrew had a huge week, logged the 88.3 3 weeks ago, 92.5, 117.1 with Jack Black. So Andrew Dismukes is making a run. He's now 4 points behind Bowen, so it's possible that Dismukes could be crowned king of SNL 50. People are starting to murmur. Number 3, Sarah Sherman, 82.4, so she dropped a spot. Number 4 is still Colin Jost, who is tough to beat sometimes. This guy just logs screen time like it's nobody's business. So even though you see Colin Jost once a week, it's for a long-ass time. So Colin Jost is just always tough to to break through that top 3. Heidi Gardner being right behind him, having a bounce back week. Yeah, 13.9 last week. So that really, it didn't tank, but it kind of ruined that run right there to have one off week, because this is an average after all. So Heidi's at a 78.4 after a bounce back week. She's in 5th. Number 6, new number 6 champ is Nwodim, of course, 77.4. Had 3 strong weeks in a row. So she bumped Marcelo down number 7. He's at a 76.6. So that'll be a race to watch. Heidi, Ego, Marcelo. Any of those could be the breaking the top 5 or higher. James Austin Johnson, number 8, 74.1. Mikey Day, number 9, 68.6. And number 10, Keenan Thompson, 60.2. Darren, it's been a long time. What do you make of this? Keenan being number 10. He's right on, and he's behind Mikey by 8. He's behind Jad by 14, by Marcelo by 16. Like, Keenan's not gonna make a run for the top 5. It's official.
I think he's I think he's gotten to this place where he doesn't kind of really need the spotlight as much as he used to anymore. And I think he's been on since 2003. So I think he's in a spot. He's in this place that a lot of cast members rarely find themselves in, where he's been on this show for so long that he's at this place where he's okay just kind of coming in once a little bit here and there and doing what he does, but letting the younger folks, the young bucks, have their moment to shine. And I think it's great. I think at this point he's like the most tenured, most seasoned cast member probably ever in SNL.
Yeah,
so
by far.
Yeah, by far. So he's okay. He doesn't have that anxiety some cast members have to I got to get on or else I'm going to be off the show or else they're going to let me go. Because it doesn't seem like the show is going to let him go ever at all anytime soon. I think he's at this point where it's kind of up to him whether he wants to leave or not. And so he doesn't have the pressure of, constantly needing to be on screen. So he's okay with just kind of hanging back, letting the younger people, do their thing and just kind of popping in once in a while to do his thing. And I don't know, it's a really interesting position, interesting lane that Keenan's kind of carved out for himself. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, really.
Speaking of tenure and span, so Keenan right now, 21 and a half years. So that beats Daryl Hammond's record by 8 years, which is 13.6 years. And then it's Seth, Jost, Fred, Che, Cecily, Kate, 80, Tim Meadows, Bobby Moynihan, Kyle, Kevin Nealon, Mikey Day. So right now in the cast, we have 4 of the most tenured people as far as from first episode to most recent or last. So, Nicola, I'm going to go over to you because we've reached the Che line, which is a 60. So I have been saying since maybe the beginning of the first show By The Numbers of explaining this stat to people who have never heard of the stat. What is good? What does this mean? What do these numbers mean? Well, if you have a good episode, it should be above a 60. And Michael Che, who's never said live from New York, doesn't have recurring characters. You don't see him outside Update, and he's gets less screen time than Colin Jost. He kind of averages over his career about a 60. So if you're kind of below Michael Che, you're kind of in the B squad. If you're above Michael Che, you're in the A squad. So any comments on this season's A squad? Would you be happy if our top 5 remains the way it is?
I'm definitely happy. Again, Andrew Dismuke's stocks are up. The tariffs will not affect him. Dismuke's Nation is not in a recession. So great to see him up on that. Yeah, I'd love to see Ego climb higher. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy to see Emil and Jane at the bottom half with the little arrow beside them going up. But yeah,
because they have some green arrows, so that's good for them. It might not be so good for recently promoted Devin Walker, who's at 17th. So I'll give you the Che down line. It's Michael Che at 11th, 57.7. Chloe Feynman, 12, 56.4. Number 13th is the leader of the pack, the rookies, Asha Padilla, 43.9. Her average went way down this week, only seeing her, in that Base Lake sketch, no lines, just a C-roll and in and out. Michael Longfellow is in 14th place with a 42.3. Then we jump down quite a bit to Emil at 15th, 36.8. Jane, 36.7. So razor thin margins, thinner than a Kenan Thompson sideburn right there. 36.8 to 36.7. That's Emil and Jane. So we have no idea who's going to come on top there. And then, Devin Walker, 36.6. So we have a 3-horse race for the bottom. Darren, who do you think is going to be, if you can order these for me? Devin, Jane, Emil from 15th to 17th. How will it finish at the end of the year?
Oh boy. I don't know. It's hard to say. I really like Emil, and I want to see him in more stuff. Like the few things that I have seen him in where he's able to like really do something and really pop, like the last sketch in the Shane Gillis episode. He was really good in that, or the in the Paul Mescal episode with the earring sketch. He was really good in that too. Like he's had moments where he's really proven that he can do it, and he has like what it takes to really excel. But like I don't know why he's just not getting kind of the chances and opportunities to like really kind of level up. So I would say
to piggyback on Darren right there, it's Emil had the usual rookie start, nothing wrong with that. And then Bill Burr's, Charlie XCX's, Paul Mescal, and Chris Rock went on a little bit of a run. Like, okay, Emil's clearly like the top rookie. And since then, we had 1 week. That was the Chalamet week. He had a good week. And then after that, other than that Shane Gillis sketch, Darren, that's kind of been it. We haven't seen him really do anything after that. So I'm hoping that in these final 4, Emil at least has one more breakthrough moment.
Yeah, like I really wish I'd see. I mean, he has a few moments here and there, like the that podcasting sketch. He was really good in that for a little bit. I think that was a Charlie XCX episode. So I mean, as far as the rankings go, I think it might stay the way it is. I mean, Jane Wickland, I like, but yes, it seems like she has a very special set of skills, and it may not translate to every sketch she's in. Like, I mean, I think the couples thing she does with Marcelo, the Grant and Alyssa, that's probably like the best thing I think she's done that like everybody can agree is awesome. And I mean, Devin, he's good too, but like, it's weird. I don't think he's quite had that thing where he's just really popped. Yeah, where everybody's like, oh, that's why he's on the show. He's fantastic at that. Like he's had a lot of stuff here and there. Like you mentioned when he was Shannon Sharp, he was as good as that, but like he hasn't really connected quite yet with the audiences as I would have hoped. So I think it's going to probably stay like this. I think Emil and Jane might have a better chance at kind of doing more than Devin, unfortunately.
That's going to be the storyline for me anyways. It's fun to track the top, but equally as fun is just kind of to see the underdogs. We want to see everybody, usually, because that's the beauty of the show is you never know who's going to pop up next, who's going to pop on Update or the 10-1 like Emil did or Ashley did before. And speaking of that, Ashley and Devin were the Update pieces last week. So Ashley had her second best episode of the year last week. And Devin had his, the morning routine parody, which I thought was great personally. And I was really happy to see Devin finally have a good episode and had been used other places. And then this week we see no Ashley and no Devin really. So the SNL gods giveth and taketh away. Nicola, final thoughts on the cast state of season 50 after 16 weeks.
Yeah, just thinking about the new players right now, I feel like they could all come back, especially if there's some longer running cast members that are leaving the cast. They might be like, okay, we're going to let you have another season that isn't an anniversary season filled with all these cameos. So yeah, that's my main takeaway from this.
Well, thank you. So that'll do it. So we have John Hamm, Lizzo coming up this week, 2-week break, and then the final 3. Can you believe it, folks? Season 50 coming to a close. Baseball season is back. You have NBA playoffs. March Madness is over. The flowers are blooming. That can only mean one thing, that the Mother's Day show is coming up and then the finale. So I'm excited to see who will be booked. This has been a hell of a ride, and the power rankings have been more fun than ever. So, Nicola, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a blast. Anything to say to the listeners before we say goodnight?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a really fun time being on here. I always am in awe of all the numbers. So just thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Come back soon. Darin, what's going on over at SNL Nerds? What we should check out?
Yeah, we're just doing our thing, breaking down all the new episodes, talking to people who are associated with SNL, whoever will talk to us, cast and crew members, and then we'll all talk to SNL related we'll talk about SNL related movies whenever a new episode isn't out. So check us out, SNL Nerds, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Blue Sky at SNL Nerds, and you can follow me on all the socials at Darin Credible, DARAN Credible.
Always a pleasure, Darin. I mean, we like I said at the top of the show, we've been doing this a while, and I just love talking to you, man. I just think you're great.
It's been a long,
great podcast.
It's been a long, crazy journey, brother.
Yep. So coming up on the SNN, I mean, this is a hell of a get, people. We have Joe Piscopo on the show tomorrow night. So if you want to think about those, that 81, that early 80s era, it's Eddie and Joe, right? So we're going to hear from Joe Piscopo, who told some great stories. He has a book coming out. He's going to talk to John and James. So look for that airing tomorrow night and everywhere you get podcasts. Then, of course, the schedule next week. Hot Take Show, 1:10 a.m. After that, John Hamlezzo episode. Not Hot Table, Round Table is going to be on Monday, and I'll be back on By the Numbers next Wednesday, same time, same place, talking about that episode and seeing how it stacks up to the other John Hamm shows. So, of course, again, we are a presentation of LateNighter.com. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.